There
So
was
does Farishte mean angel then?
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
Ward, there was a passage there where it mentions that on the sixth plane you're safe. My feeling is that it should say on the fifth plane you're safe because you're no longer using your powers. Can we go to that little paragraph?
I thought it said fifth plane because we hadn't gotten to the sixth plane yet.
Right, but I think the typing is saying sixth, unless I misread.
Did it say sixth?
Yes.
If so, it's a typo, huh?
Yeah.
Where would that be?
That would be around 260, right?
260?
I'm sorry, 266. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fifth plane. See at the bottom, it says we finished there we go. This is the,
Yeah. Okay, I'd have to check at the source text, but I think the source text probably says that.
Mhm.
It would be true of the sixth plane also. It does seem funny here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to look at the source text, but
Okay, thanks. I have something else too, but I forgot, so I'll let others go ahead.
Yeah.
right, Mahu.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
And by the way, I'm coming from seventh place. Oh no, sixth ward because I just came back from Mirabai.
Oh
days
yeah.
ago.
Oh, you had a trip there. I know. I
Yeah,
missed
and I
you
saw
there.
you on 19 evening at the Samadhi when you came. I just didn't want to bother you. I knew
Oh,
that.
but there was. Oh gosh.
Yeah, because you were leaving the next day anyway.
Yeah. No. You should have. I would have loved to say
Yeah,
say
you
hello.
were very
Yeah.
quiet. I thought you were completely, in conversation with Baba or something. Anyway, Ward, a question is that, do you think, I mean, similar to what Baba is doing, having a lot of Sufis term in God Speaks, and Gujarati mostly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of, well, a little Hindu, but particularly here, when he puts them together next to each other,
Yeah.
like that Fereshte or the two for Dozakh and the, Bud Behesht or heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Why does he put them together as one word? I know somewhere either we read it in footnote or you explained it just now that because the participants were Iranis, at least 17 were Iranis or 14, and Gujaratis and Hindus and so forth. But is there any reason that he puts them, just line them up together?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's kind of anybody can speculate on this, of course. But yeah, one reason, as you've mentioned, is that he does have in his audience Hindus and Muslims, a bunch of boys from Persia, and also some of these, boys from Bombay, like Ali and others, were actually Muslim too. And at the same time, he has Zoroastrians and a lot of Hindus. So it would make sense from that point of view. It occurs to me, though, that in addition, it's like in God Speaks, he has a number of charts where you'll see these three columns with Christian terms, Vedantic terms, and Sufi terms as they're characterized there. Baba was helping to correlate some of the language of these different traditions. I mean, I'm not enough of an expert, but I think it would have been unusual at that time. Certainly in Persia, nobody would have been quoting Hindu terms. Maybe in India, there might have been some people, where these traditions were, up against each other, cheek by jowl. But I think it's part of Baba's work of beads on a string, of helping to interrelate and integrate these different traditions by correlating some of the language. Baba himself personally seems to have been very familiar with both lines.
Yes. And this is at the earliest stage, 1927 to 1929, whereas God Speaks came in 1959. So it seems
54,
that this,
yeah,
or
yeah.
54.
So way before
He
that,
started
yeah.
it from here. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
He had
No.
some Muslim disciple, particularly Ghani, who was very knowledgeable about Sufism. At this point, can't think of exactly who was in the picture, who was all hip on Vedanta or other schools of Hindu philosophy. I mean, it was in the air. It was the ambient culture had a lot of Hinduism, but I don't know whether he had any disciples at that time who were especially conversant with Vedanta or Samkhya or the other schools. Not long after 1934, I think Dr. Deshmukh showed up, who was a professor of that. I know Ghani did say that at certain times he was reading this Sufi literature, and he would ask Baba questions relating to books which he knew Baba would not possibly have read. And he found that Baba was quite able to, he was testing Baba, I guess, and Baba seemed to know about it quite well.
The other thought I had as Mahu is asking the question is, Baba was probably in his most natural multilingual state, where I know myself, when I'm in Iran, I start speaking Farsi and Turkish and English all at once in the same sentence. So,
well,
you
his
substitute words.
mandali would have created a petri dish where this would happen. Because he had, people speaking English was the language of the British Raj, which most of them knew. But then he had people who knew all these other languages too, all mingling with each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Next is me. So I'm on the same page there. Can you just move up a little bit into that paragraph there? Yeah. This notion, actually the last sentence in that paragraph, but if he has a Sadguru, the Sadguru only allows him only to see with his eyes. He doesn't permit him to experience and enjoy what he sees or take the upabhag.
Yeah.
It's a curious concept. You see, but he prevents them somehow from having any enjoyment in what they see.
Yeah, you can't immerse it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I comes to mind, like, let's suppose you're in a vacation spot and there are Ferris wheels and roller coasters, and then there's the beach, and you can see all the people riding the rides or going swimming, and you want to do it, and your guru said, you can just watch. Something like that.
Exactly.
What always comes to mind for me, just because, I read this in my days as a medieval professor, is Dante's Divine Comedy. I don't know if any of you have ever read it, but he makes a journey through hell, purgatory, and heaven, and he's always accompanied by a guide. In hell, it's Virgil, and in purgatory, in heaven, it's Beatrice, his beloved, and he's always guided. He looks at everything, but he never enters into the state of the souls who are actually there. Now, I've never thought that Dante was, I don't know if he was advanced or not, but he was such a great poet that he does give a very vivid poetic expression to this. Traveling with a guide, you don't immerse yourself in the experience, you only watch it.
I've had sort of experiences where I'll look at a donut, for example, and I can take the upabhag with my eyes so that I don't have to eat it.
Aha.
So
Well, when you
I'll-
go to heaven, you'll be able to eat the donuts 1,000 times better than Krispy Kreme ever offered.
yeah, I'll be able to eat it without even having to pick it up and get the
Yeah, it'll be right there.
sugar on my
And
fingers.
man, the coffee you get. Woo!
Oh, I can't wait for that. All right, thank you. Lindsay.
Unmute there. Hi. I think I'm curious. Well, Baba's going to take the boys through through the plains without the experiences of the skies, as I'm understanding what he's saying. And is he saying this will be the experience of the Salik as different from the must?
You know, he hasn't used that vocabulary here. But I presume that would be true.
Mhm.
Yeah, Baba isn't using Masalik language in this series of talks, but it does sound to me like a Salik would be not getting drunk, whereas the must would be. But that's an open topic for further exploration and discussion. You know, we're reading this book. It's opening up all sorts of new information, but the next stage would be to start to interrelate this with other things. And one of those would be Baba's work with the spiritually advanced souls. See, he hadn't explained that. He hadn't really dealt with spiritually advanced souls before this time. But these damn boys turned out to be hotshots. And it's really on this January 1st that really became spectacularly obvious.
Thank you. Oh,
Mm.
I have one more question. What is
Mm.
hooky? Hooky. In the last
Hooky,
paragraph-
yeah. That's Baba saying, if I get the hooky, it's a whim or an impulse. It's sort of like the word whim, except it's like you get a personal, I get the hooky. I want to do it. I have a sudden urge or impulse to do it. Baba liked the word. When we first encountered it, we had a devil of a time finding it. Turns out to be a Marathi word, not Gujarati.
Mm,
It's a great word though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Baba's saying, if I get the hooky, I will give you
Right.
realization in a moment. I love the word.
Thank you.
Not
Lindsay.
Gujarati, it's Marathi.
Yeah.
Thank
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Oh, I just have a couple of questions. Somehow I totally missed the sixth plane when we were reading it. I mean, I was busy taking notes.
We didn't
So-
get there.
Oh, okay. So how did I went from third to fifth and fourth, but where's the sixth? Anyway, so
That'll be the next lecture.
oh, okay, good. I didn't miss anything. I thought I've got to go back and re-listen to the whole thing. So one thing, what Cassandra was saying about, I think she was talking about the third plane, about seeing but not experiencing if you're with the guru. My guess, is that that's so that we don't get attached to any sanskaras related to those experiences, so that
Yeah.
that will prevent our getting more sanskaras so those don't have to be removed. So by not getting entangled in it, it keeps the
Yeah.
path clear and you don't get diverted. And the point related to that, related to what O'Keefe, I got Mr. First name. Yeah, Lindsay. Sorry, Lindsay.
Lindsay.
Yeah,
Mm.
Majub versus Salik. Well, they would be totally different because they're already God realized. So I don't think they accumulate any sanskaras. But Majub just experiences bliss. They have no duty. Salik has duty. And I think that would be the distinction for those two, which would be very different from a pilgrim on the path.
Well, there are saliks. If you put it with a capital S, it refers to a God-realized soul, conscious of creation. But there are also saliks on the path. That's a term Baba used. It would be salik and must would be the pair.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I did have a question. So there was something about a distinction between people in the second sky, and not trapped in the delusion or heaven or hell. I guess if you're with the guru. And then he made a distinction between an ordinary human being on the gross body and something else, but I didn't get that part. Was that
Well, this paragraph that's there right now is the one dealing with that.
oh,
So a pilgrim on the second plane sees in heaven and hell and can experience them while in his gross body. Where in the second plane, you probably can see this stuff. I don't know, maybe you can even see people experiencing the heaven and hell states. Baba doesn't explicitly say so, but it sounds like it. Whereas when you're a gross conscious person, you're immersed in your own subjectivity. So I don't think an ordinary gross conscious person in heaven or hell would really be alive to the greater environment. You're sort of absorbed in your own past and reviewing your own experience, and you don't really see where you are. Whereas a pilgrim on that plane would know, know where they are.
so who was he comparing? Was he comparing? So, but if he has a sadguru, the sadguru allows him only to see with his eyes. He doesn't permit him the sadhak as a desire to experience and enjoy what he sees. So is that what he said? Because I missed that part. That
Yeah. That sentence there seems to me, I interpret that as being applicable really to all of these planes. If he has a sadguru, the sadguru allows him only to see with his eyes. He doesn't permit the sadhak as a desirer to experience and enjoy what he sees. Now, what that would be on the second plane, if you don't have a sadguru, I don't know, maybe you'd sort of get entangled in seeing all these people in heaven or hell, or you get caught up in it somehow. He doesn't really explain it very fully.
you find a good donut.
I find a
Yeah.
good donut. Yeah, man, I'm gonna,
But this is different than being veiled,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
that's
if
what
you're
kind of-
veiled, you're not conscious of any of this.
You're not experiencing even the sight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You're totally unaware of the plane and the sky. You don't see anything.
Hmm.
You're just
But
gross
how
conscious.
does one know if one's veiled or not? I mean, who
don't.
knows who's veiled?
You don't
No.
know. That's the very point of it. So like Baba's mandali, for example, most of them would have been under veil.
But
I mean, I'm sure they had no idea what their level of advancement was.
so we as ordinary people, at least we think we're ordinary. Some of us could be veiled and not know it, right?
Could be.
But we shouldn't assume that, of course.
I think that's Baba's trick.
Ah.
That he left us with this notion of, well, I could be higher up. Maybe I'm just.
I could
veiled.
be advanced or in veil.
Yeah,
In my own case, I'm such a fine lover of Baba that I came with my own veil of lust, greed, and anger so thick, there's no danger at all of any light getting through. So Baba doesn't have to worry about me.
Okay, thank you.
We could all be in for big surprises. Who knows?
By the way, there is that very interesting implication that there are certain people on the third plane who are involved in heaven and hell. It's just a little hint, but
Yeah.
it just comes to my mind, having been a reader of Dante, that maybe these devils and angels are actually people, souls a little bit more advanced.
So where
they have
is that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was in
part
this
about-
section. Anyway, it's later on in this section where it seems that they might come down and get involved in the heaven and hell experience of others. So they have to do a commute from the third plane to the second. I wonder if it's like LA and there's a lot of traffic and you arrive late because going from the third plane to the second, all these souls cluttering up the way.
Yeah,
Also,
I think there's gonna be a huge traffic jam coming up.
So, Ward, you're not talking about when you're on the fifth plane or fourth plane and you command devils or angels. You're not talking about that. You're talking about something
he
else.
does mention that in what we read, that on the fourth plane, you have control of people on the third plane and you can get them to do things. He does say
Okay.
that.
And the
Mm.
Wally does that. The isn't it the Wally who controls the fifth planer controls the fourth planer, right?
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, apparently the fourth plane can control third planers too, he says here. But yeah, there's this interesting thing he says that on the fifth plane, I don't know where Baba ever said this anywhere else. He says the fifth one on the Arif is the term he uses here. He uses the term Wali elsewhere, but the Arif actually has all these fourth plane powers, he says, but he never uses them.
Yeah.
And Baba says there's never been a single case of anyone using them because they know better.
Well, in the Nothing and the Everything, Bal definitely states that the fifth planer has to control the fourth planer, and it's
Right.
a way of protection. So the fifth planer does that by controlling thoughts,
Yeah.
and that's the way he controls the fourth planer.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go on to Mahu.
Yeah.
Are you ready, dear?
You have to unmute.
She forgot how.
I'm sorry, but I can't see the screen. I've been, where is it? Anyway,
At all?
at
I
all.
have it.
I just, math has to do with my set. Oh, now I said, well, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know, I forgot how to read English now, how to work with computer. I swear to God, it's just so amazing. I'm in different dimension. But Ward, I wanted to share this. You know, just this. We're talking about fifth plane controlling the third plane, or this and that. Is this even a subject of the discussion? Because we really don't know what Baba is doing with different aspirant or different people who are on the path. Some unveiled, some have explicit experience like Esfandiar, some aren't, like Mandelis and so forth. So even for us to discuss with our, mind, with my limited mind, if I discuss, I'm just finding it a little bit, maybe, just speaking for the sake of speaking of the conversation, but why do we even have to concern ourselves with this planar, control this planar and whatnot? I just thought I say this in parenthesis. Another thing is I wanted to share this with you because I was very much touched yesterday afternoon, which I happened to participate in Listen Humanity reading. Enough really that I burst into crying. Baba was talking. This is about Baba's talk in 1955 Sahabas, to Sahaba series of young attendants. And, this discussion that in this book, just before the plane of consciousness, where Baba talks about all this is a dream. Baba explains that this is in Listen Humanity. If anybody is interested to read in detail, page 36, that he even goes to that level after declaring that this is all a dream and illusion and it doesn't exist. And he goes back to, himself. He says, but when you may come back and tell me, but Baba, we're wide awake. We're sitting you before us, seeing you. We can see you explaining things to us or this and that. How could this be a dream? And Baba says, even this that you're seeing, even when you see me as an avatar, is a dream. It is a dream. When you wake up from your, sleep, sound sleep, or say, the dream starts. So this
Right.
whole
So he
thing
was telling
is
the boys the same thing.
yes. And I
About
thought that,
he's telling them the
please.
same thing about the experience of the planes and the skies.
Yes,
That all
yes.
of that is a dream also. Yeah.
And don't get attached to it.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, and also we just read it here is a Sadhguru. If you're into, well, Sadhguru might be himself, or who knows. If he sees the third planar kind of getting attached to some of those experiences, he doesn't let him or her see it, really experience that. He takes it away. Didn't we just read this? I thought that was very interesting, that we are being watched closely, in other words, by our
Yeah.
master. So we shouldn't be taking this lightly, that every action that we do, every word that we utter, or every thought that we may have, is watching us and helping us, of course, which we're very fortunate. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. You know, for many of us, or most of us, this is this description of the planes and the skies is interesting information, but of no immediate relevance.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting to be going up to the second, third, and fourth plane anytime today. But notice that the audience he was giving this to, a bunch of them did have these experiences within 10 days of his giving these talks. A whole bunch of them started to experience this. So
Well,
it was relevant to them.
I'm going to kind of disagree with both of you. In that I think there is real value in seeing these things in our own experience. So, you know, the planes are interconnected. We still have subtle experiences. We're just not aware of them. In other words, they don't catch our consciousness. But when I hear things like this notion that the guru doesn't allow the pilgrim to take the upabhag of something, but he allows him to see it. I can relate to that in the sense of time, the times when I have an experience and I look at the experience and I think, isn't it interesting that that didn't provoke me? Isn't it interesting that that didn't get me angry? And by noticing that, I notice something is changing in me. And I truly believe that it's important that we do that. That how our experience can transition from fully gross experience to a less gross experience.
Yeah, if we have a control over it, and if it helps us loving Baba more and strengthening our faith in him, that would be useful. Otherwise, if we feel like, whoa, now I can cure myself with this illness. Now I can cure this guy who's falling to die or something.
I think, yeah, we're always subject to self-delusion. I mean,
that's right.
If you don't hang on to the guru, to Baba's Dhamma, that's the biggest reason I think it's so helpful. Is I can easily get more deluded. I'm trying to be less deluded. So
one of the things that I get from these particular talks, and it's just a subjective reading here, is that it gave me a strong, powerful feeling that the third plane really is way beyond the second. I mean, I think when you have the experience of the first plane and you see those light globes, it's like, probably a lot of people think I'm God. And I think a lot of people who have mystical experiences, they'll say, I saw God. And, you know, for a lot of people, it's just a fancy or something like that. But for some people, they probably had a real experience. But if you had an experience of the first plane, it would be so overwhelming that you would think that. But the third plane is a totally different orbit, a different dimension, way beyond even the heaven state. But it's only the third plane, for heaven's sakes. It also seems like the third plane is very heavily populated. The higher planes don't seem to be. Like Baba doesn't talk about angels and day, you know, he's used the word fareshte, and then he uses the Hindu term dev. If you've read much Hindu literature like the Vedas and the Vedic Puranas, there are all these stories about the devas and devis, you know, Indra and all these other gods. It's almost like Greek mythology, any of you who may know that, with Aphrodite and Apollo and Athena and Zeus and Ares and so forth. The Hindu mythology has similar gods and goddesses. It would be very well familiar to readers of that literature. So apparently this is where all of that is. Third plane.
Okay, Elizabeth.
So I just got part of this. It said that once you leave the body and you're on a certain level, that you have to spend X number of yugas or something, like these really long cycles there. I don't know whether that
Okay,
was
that's a special case.
Oh.
He says it is possible for someone to on the third plane to enter into that first subdivision of the third plane and stay there for an entire cycle of yugas.
which is
over-
what, like how many millions of years is that? Is that like
Yeah, I know.
4 lakhs or something?
Well, you know, Hindu accounts give these huge number of years. I think a cycle of 4-year yugas might be something like 4 million years. I've never been prepared to believe those numbers literally, but it would be the cycle of the Satya Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga, an entire cycle of those 4.
Oh, and
Yeah.
what was the reason for having to stay there that long?
Well, it's not that you have to stay there. It's that apparently through doing top and jop, certain kinds of austerities, you earn the prerogative to be there for that period of time. I suppose you have some kind of a function or job.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Baba hasn't explained it all that much here, but this seems to be a special option when you're on the plains. Through certain top job means certain kinds of austerities. If you and you know, if you read a lot of this Hindu literature, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and you see people doing yogis doing these austerities, apparently it is possible for an ordinary person to do such austerities that you become some sort of a god or goddess on this third plane, the third sky, for a period of a long time, millions of years probably. But at the end of your cycle of 4 yugas, then you have to reincarnate in the gross plane again. So Baba is referring to something that many people would have encountered in the Hindu literature.
Uh-huh. So right there in that paragraph, it's saying the subtle bodies, okay, they're also known as angels, and their abode is first devlog. They secure a chance of descending and coming down to this world after only 4 cycles or yugas. They enjoy the
Yeah.
greatest happiness,
Yeah.
yet they pray for a body.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, I just
Yeah. So
heard of
this does seem to refer to some of these spirits there. Yeah.
Yeah.
so ghosts might be real.
No, that's a different case. He's not talking about that here. No, ghosts are real, but ghosts are often just ordinary gross conscious people with like bad attachments to the gross body who can't leave the gross sphere.
Okay, thank you.
But these are advanced souls.
Okay, so what I'd like to look at the bottom of page 269.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Won't it be nice when we have a book
Yes, won't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
here's,
hope I got the right page. Yeah.
yeah, here's 269.
Hmm.
We haven't gotten to this one yet. Was it really
Oh, maybe
269?
maybe it was 260. Wow. No, can't be. Oh, right
Yeah.
here, right here, right there.
Okay.
So this, we were warned ahead of time that this paragraph would be an
Yeah.
unusual one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because all along he's been telling them to, experience Prem to get,
Mm-hmm.
to elicit it in themselves, and
Right. Right.
to pray for it from him. And now he's been mauled by the boys several times,
Mhm.
probably.
Mhm.
And he's telling them that if I tell you that you have to stop, you have to
Right.
completely surrender to my will.
Mm-hmm.
And this
Right.
accomplishment, it says, the accomplishment of this is the work of just a short period. It will not hang on and drag out through the course of your life. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Telling
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
boys that this is not going to be a lifelong thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know that we were aware of that. We always wondered,
Right. Right.
did they go on to become, really profound teachers or something like that? But he's telling them here, this is just a short excursion,
Mm-hmm.
and I have
Mm.
my reasons for it.
I'm going to do my work in a
Yeah.
short period of time.
Time.
Yeah. So here, Baba is referring to what has just happened that very day in the Mir Ashram. Notice that even though the Upper Mirabad had been quite a scene that day. I mean, I keep saying this, but I mean, the Mandalay were flabbergasted by what had been going on. No one was expecting, who would have envisioned this? I mean, this doesn't have any precedent anywhere. I've never heard of other situations or schools where anything like this happened. So all of a sudden there was this explosion that happened. But notice that Baba just continued with his series of lectures. He just went right on with his curriculum. He didn't drop it at all. But here at the end of it, he does refer to what has been going on there. For most of the boys, things kind of normalized after a couple days, but there were several of the boys where that didn't happen. Some of them just went on weeping, and then some of them suddenly started having these experiences over the next 2 weeks. Really began with this day where the bomb went off.
Well, I don't see any more questions, so maybe you want to give us a preview of what's ahead. Do we have any interesting figures to look at or anything?
Well, let's see. Yeah, okay. So Baba's going to continue with the rest of the planes. Here's the 6th plane, and then the 7th. So this is January 2nd. You can see the 7th plane here is being referred to. And then over the rest of the talks, Baba starts covering this same ground from different points of view. Like here, as you're going to see, here he's doing the whole divine theme reviewed again. In terms of, and I'm using the term he used in Infinite Intelligence, Chaitanya, the progression and evolution of Chaitanya from instinct to intellect. By the way, there's been all this work carried on by Don Stevens and his group on the subject of intuition, you see. So this gives a real context for intuition in the progression through the planes: inspiration, revelation, insight, intuition, illumination, ecstasy, divine sight. So he's going to go over that, and he'll spend several lectures on that. As you can see here on the 4th of January, he's going to be talking about that some more. These different levels of Chaitanya. And then he has a lecture where he talks about the different levels of bliss. You know, there are actually 8 layers of levels of bliss that he wants to talk about, going up to God realization. And then he has this very strange pair of lectures where he correlates the plains and the skies with different joints in the human body. I mean, I keep thinking that this topic is going to be of great interest to people, I mean, in the medical profession in the future, how the human body is a microcosm of this of the spiritual path. So here you see the 7 planes correlating to places and the 7 skies correlating to certain points. And he takes this to this very strange analogy, which he gives. He gives this analogy and never explains it. And then over the last 3 talks, so this is a preview of what's left, he starts talking about this diagram represents it, the flow of pran down from the 7th plane to the gross plane, and what happens at each of these levels. Very strange ending to the whole thing. So that's what's in store. So
And
we
that
have
would
one.
be yeah, that would be the end of the talks then, right?
Yeah, and then they just ended, and there was no, at the time, I think they thought the talks were going to keep going. Baba hadn't said I'm finished or anything like that. But stuff was going on, particularly with Abdullah Pakran, Chota Baba. He was in such a state as to need Baba's constant attention. And then this began to happen with other boys also. And the talks just came to an end. We don't know whether Baba was finished or not, but there weren't any more. And then later on in the Toka Ashram in the second half of 1928, there was a very intensive work with the Prem Ashram boys again. The Prem Ashram boys by that time had been segregated from the rest of the Mir Ashram boys. But there's no indication that Baba gave talks like this. This was a one-time thing that never happened before and never happened again, as far as we know.
Is that the place where some of the boys started to play hooky? Pretend that they were
Oh, no,
Right.
that started to happen right in this very month, in
okay.
January.
Very good.
Some of the boys started to act as though they were, being overpowered with love. So
You get
Baba had
Baba's
meetings
attention.
with the Mandali, and he didn't want to spoil the atmosphere.
Mhm.
But he didn't want the boys who weren't actually having this experience, and this is what's his concern. He didn't want them to lose the benefit of the education that they were getting.
Mm.
He said that when the time comes where you just can't control yourself and experience the ordinary state anymore, but until that happens, he was saying, go to your classes and do your homework.
Okay, well, why don't you go ahead and stop the share?
Right.
We've had our review. We're going to hang on, Elizabeth, okay? I'd like to end the recording, but we need to say the Beloved's Prayer. So if everyone would please unmute, if you're willing to do that. Say the Beloved's Prayer with us to end the recording. Beloved God,
Beloved God,
Help
help
us
us
all
all to love
Love
you
you more
and more
and more and more
and still
still
yet
yet
more.
more,
till we
till
become
we
worthy.
become worthy of union
union
with
with
you.
you.
Help us
And
all
Help us all
to
to hold
Hold
fast
fast
to
to
Baba's
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 command
command
till the
till the
very
very
till the
till
end.
the very
very
end.
end.
Avatar,
Avatar,
Meher
Baba
Baba
Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Avatar,
Avatar Meher Baba
Baba
Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Avatar,
Avatar
Avatar
Meher
Meher
Baba
Baba
Ki
Ki Jai.
Jai.
Well, it looks like we're going to finish up in 2 more sessions. One Friday evening, Jim. One Friday evening, Jim.
I'll be there.
And one next Sunday, and that will be it.
That'll be
So
it.
thank you all. Let me
Good.
stop the recording and we can chat for a bit. Ooh,
All right.
thunder and lightning.